Hey, welcome back. Today I have a list of 10 badass vampires and their TV shows and movies. Starting off the list with number 10 is Forever Night. This was a show back in the early 90s. It follows a vampire detective named Nick Knight. You know, he works the graveyard shift. It is a red-haired vampire. Red hair, short red hair, that is not common in vampire movies and shows. Kind of like Highlander, if you remember that show with Adrian Paul back in the 90s. Wasn't 90s or early 2000s, I can't remember. Flashbacks of his prior life before he became a vampire, or things he did in the past when he was a vampire. He drinks blood, he lives by himself, he has blood in his refrigerator, and he has a friend who's a lady in, I think, the morgue department or something like that, and they're best friends and the odd couple, but oh well, you know, I didn't write it. Notable trivia about this show is, I think I have these all on DVD somewhere actually, and I'm just like going to watch them again and like think about this trivia, but Rick Springfield was supposed to play Nick Knight. Was played, can you imagine how different that would be if you're familiar with this show? So, the person who plays Nick Knight in this, his name is Geraint Wyn Davies, which I don't remember him being in anything else besides this, so that's interesting. I wonder whatever happened to him. I don't know, I'll have to look it up. I'll look and see what's going on with that guy, but it was a pretty cool show back in the 90s. I never missed an episode when I was younger, and it ended in a weird way. Didn't know whether he actually died or not. So there's that one. Number 9 vampire is Valak from John Carpenter's Vampires. He was a disgraced priest and rebelled against the Catholic Church, and somehow he was turned into a vampire. So in this movie, Valak and the other vampires like to hide out in weird dumpy sheds, weird dumpy houses and weird dumpy buildings. But Valak, being immortal, he's got great strength, and his whole goal in the movie is to be able to walk in the sun. So that's the whole plot of him, what he's doing. And the other plot is the other people trying to stop Valak and kill all the vampires. So I thought he had a cool look in this movie. There was a part 2 to this movie, and it had John Bon Jovi in it. So anybody see that one? I thought it was good. I think John Bon Jovi's a good actor. You know? What makes Valak cool is, besides his cool look, is cold and snarky kinda in a way. This vampire Valak was played by a guy named Thomas Ian Griffith, but I don't know what else he ever played in. I should have looked that up. I don't remember ever seeing him in anything else. So, and number 8, we have Kiefer Sutherland as David in The Lost Boys. He had the typical vampire powers, immortality, all that jazz, but he was pretty manipulative. He was always trying to manipulate Michael into doing things, so that's one of his superpowers besides being immortal. The master vampire, talk about manipulation with that guy, trying to wean his way into their house through their mother, so that was that guy's superpower. But in this movie, he's a leader of a biker gang in California. The place looked like a pretty cool place to live, to be honest with you. The goal was to recruit Michael into the vampire motorcycle gang, and he almost does it, but then of course things happen which stop it. And number 7 on this list, we have Jerry Dandridge from Fright Night. He's played by Chris Sarandon, and yes, he was married to Susan Sarandon. I looked that up because I had to know. He's the vampire neighbor to a nosy teenager named Charlie. And a little side note about this guy who plays Jerry Dandridge is that he actually was he did the voice for Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas, which I didn't know that. That's makes sense. He has all the vampire powers, he's immortal, he's strong, you know, what everybody wants to be. Manipulative, he tries to get into the house through the mother, again, through the mother. Manipulators going in through the mother, and if they control the mother, they control the kid, typically. Or, you know, he's defeated, and that doesn't go anywhere. Number 9, we have Eric Northman, who is played by Alexander Skarsgard from True Blood, nearly a thousand-year-old Viking vampire, who is a sheriff in Louisiana. He runs a bar called Fantasia, where all the vampires like to go to feed, but it's supposed to be above the law, but it's not. He has all the same powers. Now, there's no mother in this one to try to manipulate his way into the main character's life, which is Sookie. A warlike tendency. He's manipulative and also immortal and strong. I wonder who would win in a fight between Eric Northman and Jerry Dandridge. I think Eric Northman would win this one. Just saying. 5, we have Tom Cruise playing Lestat in Interview with the Vampire. Now, when this movie first came out, I had read the books, like a bunch of Anne Rice books, and, you know, I loved those books when I was a teenager, and when I heard Tom Cruise was playing Lestat, I was like, oh my god, that is so ridiculous. But he actually pulls off the vain vampire. I thought personally that Brad Pitt could take him or leave him on Louis. I mean, I thought Louis would just be an average looking guy. In my mind, in the books, just an average looking guy. But why they make Brad Pitt play him? You know, that's distracting. That doesn't even make sense for that character. I personally don't think. And I thought Antonio Banderas as Armand, no. I thought, no way. Because in the books, he had auburn hair, and I just imagine him just more of a, I don't know, just a skinny guy. I don't know. I thought Armand was the coolest one of the coolest ones, but I'm going to give it to Tom Cruise on the badass part, because, of course, he's got a vision of how things should be, and he makes moves to make that vision happen for him. So, I had to put him on here. Number 4, I have Ingrid PItt as Countess Dracula, and, of course, it's an Elizabeth Bathory story, bathing in the blood of young women to regain her youth. You know what? I think people really actually do that nowadays. I think the pharmaceutical industry is actually essentially doing that. I mean, I personally don't think that's far from the truth of what's actually going on nowadays with the rich people, with the rich celebrities. So she's doing this bathing in the blood so she can be young again and actually not feel old, and so she can relive her youth. And then she's trying to keep it, and she keeps going through all the measures of killing, draining people, and of course it's got to come to an end, but there's only so much blood can go around. 3, Gary Oldman in Bram Stoker's Dracula. So of course, the story of Dracula, but on this one, it's more focused around he's going to fight against the Ottoman Empire, and he comes back home, and his wife has committed suicide, so therefore he denounces his god, and he's now reborn forever in darkness. And, of course, I think Gary Oldman's great in everything. His role was this, and The Scarlet Letter. If you like that vampire aesthetic he has in Dracula, you'll really like Scarlet Letter with Demi Moore. If you haven't seen it, it's a period piece too. So he's basically got that same look as the young Dracula. Scarlet Letter, but he's a priest or a preacher or whatever it is. So that one's a great movie. And of course he's got power, blah blah, manipulation on his side, doing all that jazz, and so that makes him a badass. Number 2, going to a TV series again. That's one actually still on TV, unless they canceled it this year. I don't know. So that's going to go to Nandor the Relentless in What We Do in the Shadows. This role is played by Kayvan Novak, a bloodthirsty leader and warrior fighting for the Ottoman Empire. Was he fighting against Dracula, Gary Oldman? I don't know. So he's got all the typical powers. He can fly and turn into a bat. He can mesmerize, all that stuff. But he's like pretty bumbling, so he can be a badass when he wants to. But does he choose to all the time? No. Number one on my list, and I know I'm really biased, so if you've watched any of my other videos, you know why this person's number one. Have Radu. Oh my god, he needs dusted. This is like my second Radu doll. He does glow in the dark. He's played by Anders Hove, and he is from the Subspecies series. His mother was a witch, and his father is King Vampire Vladislaus. Brother that he hated, was always trying to take his women, so ended up killing him. He's different as a vampire. He's kind of bumbling too, like a Nandor, but he travels in shadows. He turns into a shadow and travels. You know, you see his shadow on the side of like buildings and going across the moon. Different things like that. I don't know. I think Radu's a pretty likable vampire, so I don't know. I'm biased, I know. But as you can see, I didn't have any Christopher Lee movies or Bela Lugosi movies because that would be way too many Dracula movies on here, because they only did Dracula movies, really. I mean, that's what they're known for, like Dracula movies. So I didn't do any kind of offshoot vampire for them, because their main roles, what they're known for, is being Dracula. So definitely awesome vampires. They're more gentlemanly than these vampires are, though. These are different personality vampires than Christopher Lee or Bela Lugosi. So that's all I have for this one. I'm going to be going to LA for the first time next month, and I'm going to go to Hollywood Forever Cemetery and check out what's there, and some horror museums while we're out there, to see what we can get into. Any like crazy creepy stuff out in LA, let me know what I should not pass up. I know there's an Evil Dead museum, and some kind of horror camp something there, but the main thing I want to hit up is the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, because I love cemeteries. Thank you for watching my video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to, and I will see you in the next one.